Romans 13. God's civil authorities always praise those who do right. Reason 5 of 10 why Romans 13 is biblical government. Hello everybody, I'm Jim McCotter. Welcome. God's civil authorities are those who always praise those who do right. The Apostle Paul identified the rulers he's writing about in Romans 13 as authorities rather than powers, and as servants of God who are a terror to the wicked. But Paul is even more explicit in that he also characterizes these same civil leaders as those who always praise those who do right. Romans 13, 3 and 4, quote, "For God's authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. Would you like to live without fear of authorities? Do what's right, and they will praise you. The authorities are God's servants sent for your good. They are God's servants, a revenger to execute wrath upon him who does evil." Romans 13, 3 and 4, end quote. Pastor Samuel Cook, graduate of Harvard College and preacher at Cambridge, Massachusetts, in May 30, 1770, and quoted by John Wingate Thornton, the pulpit of the American Revolution, expressed Apostle Paul's intent in verse 4, saying it this way, quote, "Rulers are appointed for this very end, to be ministers of God for good. The people have a right to expect this from them and to require it, not as an act of grace, but as their unquestionable due. It is the express and implicit condition that they intend continually upon this very thing. This continual solicitude for the common good is what rulers of every degree have taken upon themselves, and in justice to the people, in faithfulness to God, they must either sustain it with fidelity or resign their office." Consistent versus sporadic fulfillment. Paul is not describing what such authorities are supposed to be, but instead what they are. Proverbs 29 verse 2 says, "When the godly are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in power, they groan." End quote. With secular government, rejoicing is the exception, not the rule. Habakkuk 1, 4 and 7 say this, "God's law is not enforced, and there is no justice given in the courts. For the wicked far outnumber the righteous, and bribes and trickery prevail. They are terrifying and feared. Their justice and authority originate with themselves." End quote. The best we can hope for from a secular government is that it would do good to the righteous sporadically whenever it happens to enforce a biblical law. Thus, at whatever point a government ceases to do good to the righteous, it ceases to be government described by Paul in Romans 13. On May 28, 1777, Pastor Samuel Webster, and graduate of Harvard, quoted by Franklin P. Cook at the Preached Liberty, wasted no words when he declared, quote, "But depend on it, no government is God's ordinance but that which is for the good of mankind." End quote. Doing good by punishing the wicked. One of the ways biblical government does good to the righteous is by executing the Lord's prescribed civil sanctions on the wicked, which in turn results in a safe, peaceful, and robust society. Proverbs 1, verse 33, quote, "But all who listen to me shall live in peace and safety and be unafraid." End quote. This is more of biblical government via God's law. You see that in Psalms 72, 1, 2, and 6 and 7. Quote, "Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May the king's rule be like rain falling on a mown field, like showers watering the earth. In his days may the righteous flourish and prosperity abound till the moon is no more." End quote. Wes Samuel in 1730 to 1807 is when he lived, and in the 18th century he was the pastor at Dartmouth in Massachusetts, graduate of Harvard, chaplain in the Continental Army, and a delegate to the Massachusetts Constitutional Convention. He preached a sermon from Titus 3, verse 1, in which he identified God's authorities for our good. And here is part of his sermon. Can we conceive of a more perfect, equitable, and generous plan of government than this which the Apostle Paul, in Romans 13, 3-4, has laid down, to have rulers appointed over us to encourage us to do everything that's good and virtuous action, to defend and protect us in our just rights and privileges, and to grant us everything that can tend to promote our true interest and happiness, to restrain every licentious action, and to punish everyone that would inquire or harm us, to become a terror of evildoers, to make it their constant care and study, day and night, to promote the good and welfare of the community, to oppose all evil practices. Deservedly may such rulers be called the ministers of God for good. They carry on the same benevolent design towards the community which the great governor of the universe does towards his whole creation. End quote. Converting sinners. The government advanced by Paul, which results in God's manifold blessing on society that it governs, also aids in the conversion of sinners to Christ. Deuteronomy 4, verse 5-8, quote, "These are the laws for your good to obey. They are from the Lord our God. If you obey them, they will give you a reputation for wisdom and intelligence. When the surrounding nations hear these laws, they will exclaim, 'What other nation is as wise and prudent as Israel? For what other nation, great or small, has God among them, as the Lord our God is here among us, whenever we call upon him? And what nation, no matter how great, has laws as fair as these I am giving you today?'" End quote. Psalms 19:70. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Isaiah 26:9. "Earnestly I seek for God, for only when you come in judgment on the earth to punish it will people turn away from wickedness and do what is right." This will never be said of secular government. The Apostle Peter added validation to what the Apostle Paul also said. As one would expect, the Apostle Peter depicts the same Romans 13 government in 1 Peter 2, 13 and 14. Quote, "For the Lord's sake, obey every law of your government, those of the king as head of the state, and those of the king's officers, for he has sent them to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do right." End quote. Peter proclaims the submission due to this government is for the Lord's sake. Submission to governments that repudiate the Lord Jesus and reject his law cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, be described as for the Lord's sake. Moreover, God's legitimate government authorities are only sent to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. This government description is reminiscent of King Jehoshaphat's declaration to the biblical qualified judges that he restored in 2 Chronicles 19, 5-7. Quote, "He appointed judges in the land and all the fortified cities of Judea, city by city, and said to the judges, 'Consider what you do, for you judge not for man, but for the Lord. He is with you in giving judgment. Now then, let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Be careful what you do, for there is no injustice with the Lord our God, or partiality, or taking bribes." End quote. Jehoshaphat understood the judges he appointed would judge for the Lord's sake. Thus he warned them of their responsibility to adjudicate God's law, which would result to, quote, "punish those who do evil and praise those who do right." End quote. Neither apostles, Paul nor Peter, advocated secular powers that randomly do good to the righteous, if at all. Instead, they depicted the same authorities as did Jethro in Exodus 18 and King Jehoshaphat in 2 Chronicles 19. They did not advocate secular government, but instead a biblical government presided over by biblically qualified judges who serve on behalf of the Lord, as 1 Peter 2:14 said, to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do right.